All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Marcus. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Progio. I facilitate demos, proof of concepts, and of course, run these webinars. Today, our focus is going to be around the free version of Progio and how AI can act as your project co-pilot, not your replacement. I will show a brief portion of the premium version or the paid version of Progio at the beginning, and then we'll run through a free version demo as well. So just as I said, quick overview and demo of the full version. We'll jump into the free account creation, see how we can utilize AI there, and then we'll end with additional resources and QA. So if you want to stay for the free demo and the QA portion, just know that'll be at the end. First off, let's talk about the foundation of Progio. It's built on the core of the app services and database, API, which we have fully accessible so you can integrate to other solutions, and then, of course, the AI component. Sitting on top of that is the work management. This encompasses everything like collaboration, execution, and all of the resources needed to complete that work. On top of that, we also add portfolio execution. This is going to that higher level where we can now see pipeline, life cycle stages, report on all this data holistically, and even add goals and decision making. So things like prioritization or KPIs. As I mentioned though, for today's session, when we look at the free version, we'll focus on the AI and the work management, since those exist there for you to fully utilize. Now, for the brief portion before we get to the free version, I want to talk about the full version of Progio. We, of course, have the work management layer, so everything for seamless execution, organizing project, workflows, task data, etc. But this helps you and your team to enhance clarity, track progress, and of course, manage all the tasks and sources that are used for that. What I mean by sources is with the free version, you can easily integrate to something like Jira and have a bi-directional integration exist between those two systems. This way, your BAs or whomever live in Jira business as usual, provide their status update, but we as the PMO team can receive it here in Progio and vice versa, sending updates to Jira. Additionally, on top of that is the portfolio execution layer. Now, of course, this is about streamlining everything at a broader perspective so we can see resource tracking across all projects, see the workflow stages or life cycle stages, if you will, and of course, report on all of that data via dashboards and other metrics. Just as I mentioned, this incorporates things like prioritization and rank. So you can see here fully customizable metrics that you can associate to your projects. And Progio will score and rank them for you. This way you have real-time discussions around what's most important and what we should be executing on first. Beyond that, you can also see workflow stages or lifecycle stages. These are what your projects must flow through at the highest level. Of course, within the actual project, it can have its own milestones or phases that it needs to progress through. But here at the workflow, you have the initiation, planning, execution, and so on that the project must go through. And you can fully customize what happens from the initiation as well as in between stages. Do we need to collect additional data, have an approver say yes or no, or upload any files? That'll be at your full discretion within a full version. And of course, to tie it all together is our patented Gen AI. This works with you to not only build projects from scratch, giving you the framework to start from, helping you with ideas, tasks, work streams, even milestones, but it also transforms how decision makers start interacting with this data. It's allowing you to reuse knowledge from past projects, ask it questions like an actual chat, and of course, this will streamline your operations in the end. And just as I mentioned, it works like a chat-based interaction. So natural language, you can have a full conversation with it, give it more context. If it gives you a response that you don't necessarily like, tell it why, and it'll of course resubmit that and give you a better response. And we will see all of this Gen AI live in the free version as well. And just as I alluded to, it'll also help you build those projects from scratch, help you give a framework to start from. So this will show you here, we're seeing it suggesting work streams, which are going to be the foundation of all of your projects. The work stream is the core areas of focus, or the individuals involved, or even the teams involved. And then within each work stream, we'll see the tasks that they own. And of course, the AI is not finished. It's constantly being built upon. So we have agentic AI on our roadmap, which will expand into portfolio management. This is obviously acting autonomously. It'll help you make decisions and take actions that you've specified for it because it's learning and adapting off of what you're doing beforehand. It's not going to make these actions without you giving it some insight first. Now, with that, I'll take a brief moment to show the full version of Progio before we dive into the free version. So here on my screen, one moment, my apologies. So here on my screen, we can see our portfolio roadmap. This is your highest data point, call it the 30,000-foot view, where you can see all of your projects holistically. You could choose to have multiple portfolios in the full version. Here you can see that I have 6. I could quickly delineate between them, see the timelines painted on the right-hand side, or of course, bring everything together. Further, I can sort by any metadata field, like my rank, and now execute on my projects in this fashion. We see projects listed out line by line on the left-hand side, of course, with its respective metadata like the owner, the name, even the health, which is showing us if we're on track for today's date. So in simple terms, if we should have 10 days of work completed, but we're only at 5, it would give us a 50% health. Further, you can expand this data curtain to house any relevant metadata for these projects. So for my environment, you'll see I have things like client, department, all the way down to the budget that this project might consume. So these would also be fully configurable by your team and dynamic as well. So as long as we're a project manager that owns this project or an executive sitting above, we can interact and change this data in real time. Collapsing the data curtain down, we'll look to the right of every project and see chevrons displaying the milestones for said project. So in turn, we see the overall timeline. This is also dynamic, so I can zoom out, see projects spanning years, or of course, zoom in for that more granular data set. Now, the true power of this view comes when you click on any milestone, and we now see a split screen showcasing that project timeline. So this is about a 220-day long project where I can see everything on one map instead of, let's say, a list view that's constantly just scrolling through line items, or even a Gantt chart, which is constantly flowing down and to the right. This is all done because of those work streams I referenced earlier. These serve as those foundational pieces I called out, whether it's the area of focus for the execution of the project, the teams that are involved, or even the individuals. And within each work stream, you have all of the tasks that they need to complete in order to complete the project. So very simple in the way that's structured up and down. You'll also notice some different visuals like red bubbles on my tasks. This is indicating that we have delayed tasks that are not up to progress for today's date, which we see as the vertical dotted today line just to the right. Multiple ways I could update this. Because I'm the project owner, I could simply mark it on track and we see the red bubble disappear. I could reschedule something by clicking and dragging it, but we're going to see it impacts my dependent items in the future. So alternatively, I could open any task to now see the task management layer, which is the lowest level of data. Here we can see all the properties for a task, description, owner, priority, etc. And I can utilize my messages tab to @mention whoever the assignee is. They themselves receive a notification via email and in app. So when they provide a status update in real time, then we would also see that update here to the left-hand side of our project health. Just like that, Oh, excuse me. I've had some latency today. There are storms in my area. But just like that, once I update the progress for this beta testing task, we see my health is now at 100%. So there's a real-time data rollup. So just to capture before I move on, we went from the portfolio being the highest data point, clicked on a project to actually open the timeline in a split screen, and then even open that task on the lowest level of data to collaborate with the team member, get a real-time status update. Now, just to round off the rest of the higher level features before we look at the free version, within the full version, you of course have those workflows like I called out from an intake phase all the way to what happens in between these stages. So collecting various metadata, whether it's around priority, prioritization, collecting documents, whether you're uploading directly to Progio, or just attaching the URL for your document repository. And lastly, adding an approver. They receive a notification here in app as well as via email, letting them know what data has been collected. And then, of course, they can choose to approve or deny. So fully creating your pipeline process, making sure no data is missed and everything's being properly collected when it needs to be. Further, you'll always have list views available, which really serve as ad hoc report builders. You can add or remove any column of data and rearrange it, just as I've done, or of course, filter by any data point. Once you do so, you'll see a blue Save As button, so you can save this view. Filter once, save it, and then of course reuse wherever else it needs to be. Additionally, we can see things like the prioritization that I called out. So fully customizable, where you yourself can set the business drivers or parent items, and then the impact statements within, like I'll show here for strategic alignment. These, of course, have their own grades and weights that you and your team set so that Progio can calculate the score and rank in the background. And again, all this information is dynamic. So as it's being collected through the forms or being manipulated here on a live prioritization call, we know that the data will be updated everywhere in the system. Lastly, to round out the portfolio view, you of course have budget. This is driven directly from the project and task data, so you can see approved, planned, and actual. And down here, you'll see all of the categories. Things like fixed costs, consulting, labors, whatever it may be. This is also configurable by you and your team. What are the budget items that you track and are concerned about? You can, of course, input that into the solution. One more thing I'd like to expose is just as you saw the timeline in the split screen here, we could also bring in resource management. There's a fully dedicated space for resource management, which you'll see on the left-hand side here. This will take you directly to a heat map. But I like to utilize the heat map here in the split screen. So now I not only have the data below, but I can see the visual of where all my resources lie. And of course, there's extra parameters you can set, like creating your custom groups, even setting tags, skills, or thresholds on those users, so that whenever a user exceeds the threshold, we'll see a nice red exclamation mark letting us know. Beyond this, you can bubble up all the information we've seen and put it on a dashboard. Within the full version, you have free customization. We'll only scratch the surface here, but you'll see all of these widget categories available. This will cover all those areas that we've talked about throughout the demo, from portfolio, project, tasks, to even user data. So this way, you can create your own customized data set, focusing on whatever particular information you would like to see. For this first one, I have a portfolio dashboard combining 6 portfolios and all the projects within. I can see things like notes, KPIs, risks, even a trend tracker comparing my plan versus actual for all of these different data sets. Continuing on, that ad hoc report list view we talked about, create a report at the lower level, bring it here, even include the visual roadmap so we can see where our timelines fall, that data curtain that I exposed earlier, and of course, incorporating the lower levels of data like resource, so we could see headcount per quarter and what it's related to per portfolio, or we could break this apart in any sort of function, like if we were to see related to the projects instead of portfolio, or seeing department instead of portfolio. That's all simply done via these settings, which you can access and then set via these drop downs. So no sort of low code or reaching out to us to configure this information. And just to round it out, the same way I have resources here, I could bring in budget. So it allows you to be very prescriptive about what data is displayed here and even hone in on specific projects if you wanted to. This way you can set your widgets up like a template. It will load the singular project as we see now. And I can of course interact with this data. If I need to open up tasks, I can do so, even change assignees. The true power being, you can come to the dashboard and still have access to everything that you're working on. And of course, shareability. Here, clicking the share button, we could send this to any individual or group and define how long the link is valid for, or alternatively, share a screenshot, and this will send an image via email and include a read-only URL to the dashboard. So very unique, and this is perfect for those users that may not need to log in to view the data, but they still need to understand what's going on. And lastly, you could set that at a cadence. So those weekly, monthly status updates, create the dedicated dashboard, and then of course use those to facilitate the conversation. So with that, that's what I had to show for the full version. Of course, if you have further inquiries about that, you can reach us by emailing contact@proggio.com. And we'll be there to help you with any questions relating to the free version or of course the paid version. Now with that, we will lead into the demo portion of the free version. So I'll go ahead and post into the chat now the direct link so you yourself can sign up for a free account if you haven't done so already. So I will wait and pause here a brief moment, give everyone a chance to sign up if they haven't already. And on the screen, you'll see what is available in the free account. So not only those things that I talked about earlier, the timeline collaboration and task management portion, but also the AI, up to 10 active users, up to 10 active projects. This will give you a sense of how the portfolio management works in the full version. And you'll also have access to templates or custom fields, which will of course save you time with the templates. You don't have to reinvent the wheel for projects. And then custom fields are whatever metadata you care about associating to your projects. Now, since everyone's had a brief moment to sign up, I'll show you what it looks like after you've created your account. You'll be presented with this screen here asking you to create your timeline using GenAI. This is where you can give it a one-liner, the title of your project, small context. So it could be, I'm planning to build a spaceship. We have an office relocation, new product launch, new LMS system, whatever it may be. For us, I'll go ahead and do Proggio implementation. This way, we'll see some work streams and tasks that could be relevant to you in the future. So first off, the AI will work with us to generate 3 work streams. These are going to be the core areas of focus or foundational pieces for your project. And with that, like I said, you'll give it the context and give me a brief moment, looking like I'm having some internet troubles. Let me just refresh, go ahead and submit again. Zoom is telling me I'm having internet problems as well, so I do apologize, everyone. But with this, we now see the suggested work streams. It'll ask me to select 3, and remember this is the foundation we build upon. So let's go project planning, training, and user feedback. Hitting next, we'll shift to the next item, which is tasks. These are the parent items, which we can later add subtasks to. So go ahead and select at least 6. And as we do this, we'll see the timeline to the left-hand side being built out as well. So showing us the map that'll live in Proggio. Third step, we'll select some milestones. You can think of these as the key dates in your project or key phases of time, whether it's the planning phase, the execution, or even the closeout phase. So for this, we'll go ahead and select project kickoff and final review. Lastly, it'll have you create some dependencies. To do this, just click on Add Dependencies at the bottom, and we'll see the creation to the left-hand side of those dotted vertical lines, or excuse me, dotted horizontal lines. Lastly, hit Finish, and Proggio will build the map for you live in the solution. Now, there are multiple ways to interact with this framework that's been built by the AI. I could start to manipulate the tasks that already exist by simply placing my cursor above them, move to the edge if I would like to reduce or extend the duration, click and drag in the middle if I would like to reschedule, which we of course see at reschedule dependent items as well. Or if I need to add subtasks, just click on the task itself. We see that split screen, and we have two options, either adding the subtask manually or using AI to generate subtasks. Either option, of course, will start to add to this item. So as I enter my manual subtask, we see a number 1 appear above on the map. And of course, it appears in the split screen, so I could act upon it. The same way with generating AI subtasks. It will look to your task name, the other task on the map, and give you suggestions. You can simply click to add these in as subtasks. And just as before, we see them appear in real time on the left-hand side. Once you've accessed the AI as I've done, the right-hand side gives you additional steps to move forward. I could add a new work stream, new milestone, or of course, start to manually enter these tasks. Let's check the work stream option. As I mentioned, these are those foundational pieces, what your project is built on. We already have project planning, training, and user feedback on the far left-hand side. So looking at those, the AI has suggested these. I'll take testing, for example. And just as before, we see a new suggestion pop up to add a task to the last created work stream. So let's just continue with that flow, whether it's user acceptance, performance, or even ending on integration testing. Now we have those brand new 3 created tasks. And just as I described before, we can start to manipulate them. This map is really like your digital canvas. So if you need to move around, click and drag on an empty space. You can place your cursor on the timeline above to either scroll out to zoom out or scroll in to zoom in. And additionally, just to the top left, you'll see more date options. The drop-down will snap the dates to a specific range. I clicked weeks, and we now see it as a weekly. I can click the calendar icon with today's date to snap to the vertical today line, or I can click the calendar with our arrows pointing outwards to focus on the entire project in one timeline. Within the same function, as I've said, this is your digital canvas, so I can click directly on a task to interact and move them. As I showed you before, start to extend durations if needed, or even draw out new dependencies. These are all done by clicking and interacting with that map. As I move my mouse to the cursor, we see a blue dot appear, and now I can connect it to another task, or of course, connect it to a milestone. That's what creates the dependency push that we have seen before. So of course, you follow this function, rearrange your tasks to where they need to be, of course, changing those durations as I'm doing now. And just the same way I've done all of these functions by clicking directly on the map, you can also do it with the blue plus button in the top right-hand corner. You'll see adding new tasks, milestones, work streams, and even importing items. So if you have the framework to start a project from another solution, or you've built out a task list in Excel, you can easily import that and then later on associate it to your map. Now, once you've started to build that framework, you'll probably want to invite some team members to collaborate with you. Multiple ways to do that as well. Using the share button in the top right-hand corner, you can select that, then invite new user. Here you'll see the access level and role, and you'll also see a description that is dynamic as well. For instance, we're currently on Project Manager Editor, where they can view projects and tasks, however, only edit the ones that they own. If I were to upgrade this to Executive, we see the description changes to where an executive can edit portfolio, project, and tasks regardless if they own it or not. So again, you'll be able to see these quick updates as I roll through all of them so you know exactly what the user can or can't do. A different way is by clicking on any task and you'll see the split screen with the assignee section. We can invite users from here as well. Or lastly, you can double click on any task or click on the letter I to open the properties. Here, we could of course do the same thing. Click the assignee to invite a new user or edit any of the task property details. As you saw in the full version demo, we could access messages to collaborate with team members. There's also dependencies. So not only can you set them by drawing on the map like I did before, you can come here to the dependencies tab, select whatever type you would like, and then of course select the item it connects with and just hit the blue plus button. This will draw out the line in real time as you add it here contextually. Additionally, every task will have the file section so you can upload files directly or add that URL to your preferred document repository, and anything uploaded or executed at the task level automatically flows upwards to the project. So no data is being lost, or of course, communications being lost as well. Now, beyond this map view, which is your visual first and canvas, you can also access the dynamic map, which will allow you to filter the data that's present, but retain the visual map. So as I filter for a specific work stream, we of course see the data reduce. Further, there's also a Kanban board showing us by default the statuses across the top, where I could also click and drag to update status. And this of course reflects everywhere else in the system. Or I could even change the grouping for something like priority, due date, or even the signee. So now as I drag and drop, we see this item has that brand new medium priority. So of course, everything's still functioning in real time between these views, and every project will have a list view as well. So that spreadsheet that we're very familiar with, we can expand any task to see the subtasks within, execute on any of the columns of data, like assignee, status, and so on, or of course, manipulate what is presented here by clicking our view button, which is the eyeball, then select show/hide columns. There, you can choose whatever columns of data are displayed or not. Now, moving on from this view, I do want to talk about some other ways to create projects. We of course saw using the AI, but from our portfolio map, which is the briefcase and the map dropdown, we could also select add project here to create a project from scratch, or utilize the blue plus button to either create a project from scratch again, utilize the creation wizard, which we just ran through, or import our own project. Additionally, I called out that we have templates, so you can utilize those as well. Switch over to your card view, then expand the sample project templates, and you'll see 11 from various industries. These are, of course, sample dummy data, if you will. If you'd like to utilize any of these templates, simply click on one, give it a name, and then hit create, and you'll follow the same workflow that we just did. Further, you'll have still available to you in the free version the Kanban board, so you can see where your projects fall in workflow stages, and of course, progress them as they're moving forward. Just as we saw before, the list view will also be here. So you can not only filter by any data point, click the add filter to add, or of course, utilize the view button, as I described before, to select show/hide columns, and then you choose the checkboxes to select whatever columns you like displayed and hit save. We see those columns added in real time, and we now see that blue save as button. So I could choose to save this as a brand new saved view, define if only I myself can edit it or team members can also update the view. If I would like this to trickle down to lower levels, because keep in mind I'm at the portfolio layer, do I want this view to also be available at project and task? And lastly, is it private, only visible to me, or public, visible to everyone in my space? You'll have all of these options available to you, and just as I hit save, it now lives within my save view dropdown, so I can easily access and navigate back to it next time. Furthermore, I could also favorite it. Just click the star. This works like a bookmarks in your web browser, and now it's fully accessible here in my favorites as well. So just to round off everything, not only did we cover how you can create a project utilizing the AI, which is that project creation wizard, but you could also create your own project from scratch. So keep in mind, both avenues are available to you. And even if you start from scratch, you can still utilize the AI to help you build upon that project. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the Help Center. Simply click the question mark in the top right hand corner, then select in-app guides, and these will provide you walkthroughs live in the solution. The timeline basics is going to cover most of the topics we covered already. Creating a project from scratch, adding tasks, and inviting new users. This will give you in-app guides live to walk through. Videos, of course, videos that you can watch directly in the solution. There's also the Gen AI powered timeline, which we just saw together, is the project creation wizard. Gen AI based support, which allows you to search the Help Center in a chat based narrative. So you can have a conversation with the AI. How do I create a new project? How do I create milestones? It will give you the relevant information. And lastly, you'll notice some other guides and demos covering more advanced features and the submit a support ticket button. This is your best way to get in contact with us. Hit this and it will generate a ticket to our team. Otherwise, you can email us directly using contact@proggio.com. Then we'll be able to help you with anything, whether it's related to the solution and needing support there, or questions about upgrading and moving to the free version. With that, that covers the free version demo that I had for everyone. I hope that was extremely insightful and you yourselves can launch your first project, whether it's from scratch and then having the AI assist you, or have the AI help you build it from start. Now, as I mentioned, I will share with you some additional resources. You're going to have available to you, Lior and I, if you need some additional help when it comes to onboarding or not onboarding, but getting in those initial initiatives. We've seen from our clients that they have a 40% reduction in the effort required to put together these initiatives. You may be coming from other solutions that are, very disparate and things aren't connected. We, of course, help you connect everything and then give you the best way to put it into Progio. So I'll be available in the US time zone. Lior covers all of the EU time zone, and you'll, of course, receive this slide deck afterwards as well, so you'll have access to those links. So with that, I first, of course, want to say thank you to everyone for joining. I appreciate you taking the time to see not only the slight demo of the full version, but explore the free version with me. And again, really look into how AI can become, your co-pilot and not your replacement. That's what Progio is striving for, and we'll continue to build on that as well. So please feel free to reach out to us using contact@progio.com. And then now we'll go ahead and engage for the Q&A session. So if you haven't posted your questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A now, and we'll just run through those live. All right. Perfect. Seeing some questions flow in. Is there a time limit on the free version? Great question. No, the free version has no time limit. Just do keep in mind those restrictions you have, which I'll pop up on the screen again. You will have the collaboration for your timeline, so building out projects, the full task management and execution layer, but you will not have that topmost piece of portfolio execution. So including things like pipeline management, prioritization, the full resource management, among the other things that we've talked about in this demo. But again, no limit to the free version as of time. You will just have limits for usage. It's a great question there. With the full version, is there an accessible API? Another great question. Yes, Progio has a fully accessible API. We have our documentation listed online. So within the full version, if you choose to add on the API, we'll of course give you that documentation. And if assistance is needed beyond just the documentation, we have avenues to help with that as well. So no worries there. But another great question. Who can I contact if I'm looking to upgrade? Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, you can email contact@progio.com, and then of course put in there what you'd like to discuss, and it'll be routed to the correct person. Or even in the solution, you can hit that submit a support ticket button I showed, and again, it'll be routed to the correct party, so the sales team or whomever. Looks like my last question here. Can you remind me how to access the Help Center? Yes, absolutely. So let me just pull up my Progio environment again, which you can see here now. So from any area in the solution, I already have my Learning Center open, but let's assume it's closed. From any area, you can click the question mark in the top right-hand corner, then select In-App Guides. This will open the graduation cap in the bottom right-hand corner. And as I mentioned, the timeline basics are live guides in app. Videos, of course, videos you can watch. The powered timeline is what we saw the wizard help us create a project so that we can have a framework to start from. And then, of course, some extra options leading down to that submit a support tick button. So again, just to access that, the question mark and in-app guides, and it's going to be there for you. So I'm not seeing any other questions flow into the Q&A. So I know I've said this a couple times, but if you need any help from us at all, please reach out to us emailing contact@progio.com, and then that'll be routed to the appropriate party, and we'll be happy to help. So I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate the time, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Take care.